In ancient times cats were worshipped as gods. They have not forgotten this. The trouble with having an open mind, of course, is that people will insist on coming along and trying to put things in it. The pen is mightier than the sword if the sword is very short, and the pen is very sharp. Build a man a fire, and he'll be warm for a day. Set a man on fire, and he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Light thinks it travels faster than anything, but it is wrong. No matter how fast light travels, it finds the darkness has always got there first, and is waiting for it. Over the centuries, mankind has tried many ways of combating the forces of evil: prayer, fasting, good works, and so on. Up until doom, no one seemed to have thought about the double-barrel shotgun. Eat leaden death, demon. This isn't life in the fast lane, it's life in the oncoming traffic. They say a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, but it's not one half so bad as a lot of ignorance. Everything starts somewhere, although many physicists disagree. He was the sort of person who stood on mountaintops during thunderstorms in wet copper armor shouting, "All the gods are bastards." 5 exclamation marks, the sure sign of an insane mind. Only in our dreams are we free, the rest of the time we need wages. In the beginning there was nothing, which exploded. Most gods throw dice, but fate plays chess, and you don't find out till too late that he's been playing with 2 queens all along. I got quite annoyed after the Haiti earthquake. A baby was taken from the wreckage and people said it was a miracle. It would have been a miracle had God stopped the earthquake. More wonderful was that a load of evolved monkeys got together to save the life of a child that wasn't theirs. Sometimes it is better to light a flamethrower than curse the darkness. The intelligence of the creature known as a crowd is the square root of the number of people in it. It's useful to go out of this world and see it from the perspective of another one. It is often said that before you die your life passes before your eyes. It is in fact true. It's called living. Freedom without limits is just a word. There is a rumor going around that I have found God. I think this is unlikely because I have enough difficulty finding my keys, and there is empirical evidence that they exist. It's not worth doing something unless you were doing something that someone, somewhere, would much rather you weren't doing. 8 years involved with the nuclear industry have taught me that when nothing can possibly go wrong and every avenue has been covered, then is the time to buy a house on the next continent. The truth may be out there, but lies are inside your head. Anger is wonderful, it keeps you going. I'm angry about bankers, about the government. Evolution was far more thrilling to me than the biblical account. Who would not rather be a rising ape than a falling angel? To my juvenile eyes, Darwin was proved true every day. It doesn't take much to make us flip back into monkeys again. I think perhaps the most important problem is that we are trying to understand the fundamental workings of the universe via a language devised for telling one another when the best fruit is. I'll be more enthusiastic about encouraging thinking outside the box when there's evidence of any thinking going on inside it. The harder I work, the luckier I become. I have, before now, waited for a pen to perform a macro. Opera happens because a large number of things amazingly fail to go wrong. Fantasy is an exercise bicycle for the mind. It might not take you anywhere, but it tones up the muscles that can. Of course, I could be wrong. The baby boomers are getting older, and will stay older for longer, and they will run right into the dementia firing range. How will a society cope, especially a society that can't so readily rely on those stable family relationships that traditionally provided the backbone of care? Go on, prove me wrong. Destroy the fabric of the universe. See if I care. My advice is this: for Christ's sake, don't write a book that is suitable for a kid of 12 years old, because the kids who read who are 12 years old are reading books for adults. I read all of the James Bond books when I was about 11, which was approximately the right time to read James Bond books. It seems that when you have cancer you are a brave battler against the disease, but when you have Alzheimer's you are an old fart. That's how people see you. It makes you feel quite alone. If it wasn't for the fun and money, I really don't know why I'd bother. You can't build a plot out of jokes. You need tragic relief, and you need to let people know that when a lot of frightened people are running around with edged weaponry, there are deaths. Stupid deaths, usually. I'm not writing the A-Team. If there's a fight going on, people will get hurt. Not letting this happen would be a betrayal. I can no longer type, so I use Talking Point and Dragon Dictate. It's a speech-to-text program, and there's an add-on for talking which some guys came up with. Previous generations understood about death and undoubtedly would have seen a reasonable amount of death. Once you get into the Victorian era, you might well have seen the funerals of many of your siblings before you were very old. I believe everyone should have a good death. You know, with your grandchildren around you, a bit of sobbing. Because after all, tears are appropriate on a deathbed. And you say goodbye to your loved ones, making certain that one of them has been left behind to look after the shop. If the government ever imposes a tax on books, and I wouldn't put it past them, I'm in dead trouble. It's not morbid to talk about death. Most people don't worry about death, they worry about a bad death. I got into science fiction by being interested in astronomy first. You can't die with an unfinished book. Discworld is taking something that you know is ridiculous and treating it as if it is serious, to see if something interesting happens when you do so. Educational refers to the process, not the object. Although, come to think of it, some of my teachers could easily have been replaced by a cheeseburger. I've always felt that what I have going for me is not my imagination, because everyone has an imagination. What I have is a relentlessly controlled imagination. What looks like wild invention is actually quite carefully calculated. Never trust any complicated cocktail that remains perfectly clear until the last ingredient goes in, and then immediately clouds. When you're all singing together, it brings things together. I know the songs that my grandfather and my father sang. Visit our website for more quotes, quoting.com.